And we are live. That's how fast it goes. Hey, guys, I'm back. Ted Bogert with The Ted Show. I've been looking forward to this interview, if you want to call it that, with my friend David Adam Kurz down South Florida. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing great. I've been looking forward to this interview. We were supposed to do it months ago, and we both got caught up. We're at an event.
Well, you've been a little busy.
Caught up. I have been. Thank God, man. Thank God. I won't even lie to you. Thank God.
You were busy before all the COVID stuff, too. You've just been a busy guy, which is just your nature, which I know, but they don't know. So tell them a little bit about you. Introduce yourself. Kind of give a background so the audience can get to know a little bit about behind the scenes, David.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I'm super big on social media, so follow me at David Adam Kurz anywhere. That's what I was doing right now, trying to get a little watch party going on because I'm on the TED Show and I'm super excited. Super excited. So a little bit about me. I've been in real estate for about, I think, 14 to 15 years. This is my 15th year.
You were young.
Just before that, I spent 9 years in the Marine Corps. And before that, I was a knucklehead. So Marine Corps changed my life. It honestly made me the man I am today. And I spent 9 years doing it, loved every minute of it, but got a couple degrees while I was in, thanks to Uncle Sam. And I decided I was going to get out and put those degrees to work so I could get that corner office on Wall Street. And ended up in Miami doing real estate. So long shot from what I had originally thought. But one day my cousin sat down with me, and she was in mortgages at the time. And this was during the boom, right before the big crash. And she said to me, she said, "You have an awesome ability to talk to anybody. Like, no matter who I introduce you to, you'll spark up some type of conversation with them." And I said, so what are you trying to say? Like, what should I do? She said, you should get into real estate. I said, man, absolutely. I'll jump in. I'll get on real estate. I'll do it. And I got into real estate, and it had its ups and downs. I had one of those full-time jobs in a cubicle for quite some time. But eventually it took off, and it's been a blessing ever since. I've owned my own company. I took that company, I merged it into eXp Realty not too long ago in October of this year. In the last 3 years, I've written 2 books, and I'm halfway through a 3rd book. Really excited about that stuff because the books have really created a launch pad for me to do a lot of public speaking, which I really enjoy. I've done a lot of training, done a lot of coaching. I still run a very good real estate team. So I'm blessed, man. I'm really blessed. I've got a wife in the business, as you're well aware of. So, it's a all around to be able to, like, write books, like, people say they want to write books all the time. I did it, you know what I mean? And the funny thing is, it wasn't that hard to do. And so, I guess we'll dig into some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I want to dig in. I have a lot of questions. Yeah. I took the title for the show from 2 of your books, The Blueprint and Take Action, I think is the other one, or I put a spin on it a little bit. But I want to talk about the real estate transition, because I was around when you did make the move. You built up a giant team, which is a big deal in general. You built up a company, you built up your own company. You had a lot of, and do have a lot of, real estate agents. And I look at that as a small business like everybody else. It's a business, right? And you were running it. And then you decided to take that approach. You had already done it. And then you shifted. You took a big shift and went with eXp, with another company, and kind of merged and made it your own. Can you talk about that process for them?
Yeah, I'll tell you, when COVID-19 hit us, and it was the first week that they had issued the stay-at-home order. I'm sure we all remember this. It was just moments ago, 4 weeks ago. And I sat in the car and I looked at my wife and I said, babe, we literally dodged a 50 caliber bullet by a hair. And she looked at me, she said, what are you talking about? And I said, do you know that if we still had Kurz Real Estate, if we still had our offices, 3 offices, we're 200 agents, we're one of the fastest growing real estate companies in South Florida. And I said, do you know if we still had all that, we might not make it past 90 days of COVID. And she looked at me, and I swear to you, my wife almost teared up, and she said, holy crap. And even the guys that helped me join the company and helped me into eXp with the transition, they all said it. They go, you must be like the luckiest dude on the planet, right? So and to give everybody a little bit of history, for the last 3 years, I grew a real estate company. I left Douglas Elliman, and I had a good, successful team. I dismantled the team, believe it or not. And I started Kurz Real Estate. And in 3 years, we grew to 200 agents, 197 agents, several staff members, couple managers, 3 offices. Like, we really pushed. And the goal was always to be at 1,000 agents in 10 years. Like, that was the 10-year goal. And what happened was, when you started to formulate, as I grew the real estate company, my depths grew. Does that make sense? Like,
yes,
the more people we had, the more liability we had. The more people we had, the more systems we had to have. The more people we had, the more light bill we paid. The more copies we made, the more coffee we brewed, like, et cetera, et cetera. And that just created so much expense on the expense side, that I realized, when I get to what I have at 100 agents, and the income that we have at 100 agents, with the debt that we have for 100 agents, when I'm 1,000 agents, that debt's just going to grow by 10, right? And so it's always almost going to be even in debt to income. And I talked to a few people about it around the country. Thank God that I'm very well connected to a lot of amazing people all over the country, and guys that had 10 offices, 600 agents and stuff. They were like, yeah, bro, that's just the name of the game. The business is not real estate. It's in everything else, all the ancillary services that you can provide for the real estate agent. So the company is kind of the centrifugal force. And I said, well, why don't I just go to EXP and do the same thing? And for 2 years, I fought this. I was like, no, I'm Kurz, man. Kurz, look, man, I'm Kurz, man. Okay, like, it's tattooed on my forearm, And I said, I'm gonna make the transition to Kurz Real Estate, or into EXP, because now I get to do the same thing I was doing before. I'm still recruiting. I'm still coaching and training my agents. I'm still pushing my agents to succeed more than anybody else, except the 1,000 agents in 10 years has now turned to 1,000 agents in 18 months. That's my new goal. And believe it or not, it was 12 months until COVID hit. And I said, okay, I'm going to have a setback. And then the setback really didn't happen, because all the folks that looked at me and said, Dave, you got 3 offices, you're a personality, people love to be with you, and blah, blah, blah. How are you going to go virtual? And I'm laughing now. I'm like, dude, you're all virtual now, right? Every one of you is trying to figure out how to Zoom now, right. And I'm very thankful that we became a part of a company that was already virtual, that had a platform in place, because it allowed us as professionals in the business to focus on one thing, and that one thing was our clients, our consumers. We weren't scatterbrains trying to figure out how to save offices and pay for copies, right?
People don't realize the overhead that is involved in owning a business, because you're a business.
At all.
And
it's funny. The other day I was talking to somebody about it, and they were like, what happens in your office if you run out of coffee? And I've used that line 100 times, because I remember running out of coffee in our office, and people going, what do you mean we don't have coffee? I'm like, dude, it's free. It's on order. Amazon is, 2 days.
It's a little backlogged right now. All right, I have a question. Somebody who built up their agency force, their business, their team, like you did. You didn't know COVID was coming. So when you finally decided, all right, I'm going to make the shift, what was it about EXP that said to you, or it went in your heart, and I'm sure you talked to Jen about it 1,000 times. What was it that actually made you make the move? What was the attraction? What was the offer, or the thing that you would be able to do that you weren't able to do with the way you had it currently set up?
The biggest attraction was the amount of freedom that I would have. See, I can do at EXP everything I could do as the owner and broker of Kurz Real Estate Corp. I can recruit. And when I recruit, when those agents close deals, I earn an income. I can coach. I can train. Those are my passions. I love doing this that we're doing right now, Ted. I love doing this. I could do this all day long. Set me up, back-to-back interviews. I love giving away information that could potentially help somebody in their business, right? So for me, it was really an excess of being able to do everything I love to do and taking away all the liability. I don't have to worry about insurance, inspections. I I don't have to worry about compliance. I don't have to worry about E&O insurance. I don't have to worry about whether or not an agent is being crazy out there or not. I don't have to worry about potential lawsuits because an agent decided to send a text message to somebody that had a do not call. I mean, I can go on and on and on about the liabilities that a broker owner has, and any business owner for that matter. And what EXP did was they created a format that allowed me to act like I was still a broker and still earn a residual income and grow 10 times as fast. Like literally, Ted, I'm telling you, 10 times as fast. People look at me and they're like, Dave, 1,000 agents, 12 to 18 months, that's crazy. It's not crazy. There are people who have done it. If they did it, they left breadcrumbs, those clues, and I'm going to go find those clues. I'm going to do exactly what they did. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. They did it. It worked. I'm going to do that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So if that's the case, now I'm no longer pigeonholed to Miami, where before, if I wanted to open a brokerage in Quantico, Virginia, which is, I was a Marine, I was stationed in Quantico, and now I have a sister team in Quantico. If I wanted to do that before, I would have had to find an office. I would have had to get licensed over there. I would have to find a qualifying broker. They have different rules over there. So I would have had to get business tax licenses and things of that nature. And then I would have had to have a whole nother manager, a whole nother compliance team, because it's different. I can't have the Miami guys doing compliance in Virginia, 2 different states, 2 different laws, right? And so now I don't have to do any of that. Literally, I moved to EXP and I spoke to the friend that I had over there in Virginia and I said, let's do this. And she jumped on board. She's 10 strong over there right now. And we're growing Virginia like crazy, you know, and none of the overhead, none of the liability. So the ability for growth is going to allow me the capability to have massive freedom. Like Stephanie just said, she said,
yep.
That's all. She said, freedom is a powerful thing. And it really is. Because what happens the day that I can decide, look at my wife and say, let's take the month of June off. Completely off. Let's take the month of June off. Let's grab the kids. Let's rent an RV. Let's check out the United States. Let's do that. On that, what happens if that month, if you're a business owner and you disappear from your business, what happens to your business? For 30 days? Ask any small business owner what happens to their business if they're gone for 30 days.
Can't happen.
It can happen, but in my business, because I'm virtual and I can take it anywhere I want, it can happen. Because I have a sales team, it can happen. Because as long as my entire team doesn't go on vacation, we're good. Somebody's going to be there to show houses and help clients and our consumers, right? But here's the better part. I'm going to have agents in Texas, California, New York, Virginia, everywhere, still closing deals, who potentially at some point may have never even met me in person before in their lives, right? And guess what? I'm going to earn a residual income from that. And that residual income, I'm trying to make it a 6-figure monthly income. That's very hard to do if you're a small business owner and you're trying to start from the jump and continue to grow that way. With this system, I can do it. It's still not easy, by the way. Let me explain that to folks. It's not easy to go out and get 1,000 agents every year. It's not an easy task. It's not a daunting task. It's not like I work from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and quit for the rest of the day. I'm at it all day long, but I'm putting the work in now so that later on it becomes a superstar type situation, right?
All right. I want to ask you, I agree. I want to ask you about your book, the 2 books that I know, The Blueprint and Take Action. You tell me if that's the right title of the second one.
Right. They are.
Talk about writing, because that's something that I haven't done, but a lot of professionals, a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs really, really, really do make a mark by sharing their ideas, sharing their tips, sharing their thought process. What was the impetus behind the Blueprint?
The Blueprint was when we first opened Kurz Real Estate. I said, what's an easy way to give somebody a way in which we could just hand them something that will get them going, right? And so what we thought was every business has a blueprint. And I don't care what kind of real estate you're trying to do or what kind of business. I have this quote. They're in both books actually. It says, "I don't care if you're selling lollipops, bicycles, or real estate. It's all the same shit." Okay, and so when you talk about giving somebody the blueprint, you're giving them access to building a foundation. Every business has a foundation. Weak foundation, poor structure. Strong foundation, any structure you want. And I say any structure you want because some people want a cottage, some people want a house, some people want a mansion, some people want a 4-story complex, some people want the Empire State Building. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right. And so and when I'm using those, they're examples of different sizes of business and complexity. And so if you have a strong foundation, then you can build whatever business you want on it at any given time, as long as you put in the work, you put in the blood, sweat, and tears into building it. And so the blueprint allowed a structure to give people from marketing to lead generation to everything to think of. Now, writing the blueprint was a very different thing. I did that with Rudy Hernandez from New World Title. We did it together, and we did it Q&A style. And what we had was somebody give us or ask us the questions, and we would answer them, and we translated them into words, and we put it out. And we figured that would be such an easy way to read it. It would be almost like an interview, right? It would be such an easy read. What I found was months later that everyone loved it, but they wouldn't put action on it, right? So we would take the blueprint, hand it off to some, I think I have it here somewhere. Where is it? I don't know, it's somewhere. But we would hand somebody the blueprint. We would say, "Hey, here you go. Here's some great information to get your business started and really push yourself to the next level." Fantastic. They would go, they would read it, they would say, "Man, Dave, that was excellent. You guys did a great job with this. A lot of great information." And then nothing. And I said, "What the hell's going on here?" And the more classes I taught, I call it the Tony Robbins effect. How many times do you have to go walk on fire before you decide to buy a business mastery?
Right.
And so I realized that the reason people go walk on fire multiple times is because they didn't take action the first time and just do what was necessary. The entire reason for that 3-day campus, you can buy the better stuff, right? And when you buy the better stuff, those better programs like Business Mastery and Life Mastery, and they're proven to really make an impact and change in your life. But you have to imagine, it's the person that takes action to buy the program and actually show up that will take action when they get to that program, right? And so I wrote the book, Take Action. And that one was kind of to my heart because I wanted to push people and let them know it doesn't happen by itself. You can't just come up with a plan and that's it. Like, I can't tell you how many people I know came up with a 2020 business plan and then never took any action on it, let alone revamp it when coronavirus hit, right? Like, so, and there are so many people out there, they have a plan. They have dreams. They got goals. They want to do big things. They want boats and cars. They want vacations in, London and Europe and South Africa. And, even if touring the United States, like, that's always been a dream of mine. My wife and I are going to do it this summer, and
she's amazing.
Yeah, she is. and the reason that I find that I've had the level of success that I've had, and by the way, I'm not done. Like, there's so many more things that I want to do, right?
What do you want to do?
Oh, we'll get there. So, but the reason I feel like I have this kind of success is because I do take action, and my wife, it freaks her out sometimes. Like, she looks at me and she goes, "Dude, you say something and you go do it." And I said, "Well, I can't just, sometimes you're going to have a hiccup, right? Sometimes you're going to think of this plan, it's going to be great. And then you're going to go do it and it's just going to completely crumble. And you're going to stand back and go, what? That didn't work." That's okay, because that's where we learn, right? We learn from our hiccups.
Where does that determined spirit come from?
Within.
Like, have you always been like that? A lot of people who are motivated and do so much. So where did you learn it along the way? Did you have mentors?
So here's an interesting fact. I've never had a real mentor, like somebody I could say, "Wow, this person really changed my life," right? Hopefully one day I do. I haven't had that yet. I've had many small mentors, many people that I could go to with questions and people I respect in the business, right? My mom was a hard worker her whole life, went to school. She has a few degrees. She's a school teacher. I saw her bust her butt her whole life, and that kind of made me think to myself, there's a very good chance that that's what I need to do in my life. And then, of course, naturally, I turned into the most knucklehead teenager on the planet. And I'll never forget the day I left my job at Wendy's. I'm taking a really long story and putting it into a minute, right? I left my job at Wendy's. I jump in my friend's car. We go to a mall, right? And it was an outdoor mall down here in the Florida Keys called Florida Keys Outlet Mall, right before you enter the Keys. And I was walking, and these two guys in uniform were walking the other way. And I turned around and I said, damn, those guys look good, you know? So I asked my friend, I was like, who are those? Because I didn't know anything about the military. I knew G.I. Joe. That's about as far as my military experience went. And my best friend, Sergio Laporte, who was with me at the time, said, those guys are Marines. His father was a retired Army, Vietnam vet. And he said, those guys are Marines. And I turned around again, and I swear to you, the two of them had stopped, and they were staring at us. And I turned around, and I caught eyes with the guy, and he said, you want to talk to me, don't you? And I said, you know what? I absolutely do. And I joined the Marine Corps. Changed my whole life, Ted. Changed my whole life. Like the stuff that I've done in the Marine Corps and the experience that the Marine Corps has given me has allowed me to put my heart and soul into everything fearlessly. And it has allowed me to put myself in positions that most people would be afraid to put themselves in. And has allowed
what did it give you that you didn't have before?
The will to survive, the will to push forward, the understanding that if you worked hard and you put something into it, there was another level of greatness. Even in the Marine Corps, even if that meant getting promoted to the next rank, right? Even if that meant coming to the next rank, the level of ability to do what we did, from humanitarian stuff to just everything you could imagine, it really, really put something gold in your heart. And to be able to take that and transfer it, and it wasn't easy to do, by the way. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I hated all civilians. I just want to be clear about that. We were not on the same level. We were not on the same frequency, right? Like folks were on like 92.2 FM. I was on like 7 million FM, right? Like we were on way different frequencies because I wanted to go at it. I wanted to work, and people were too relaxed with me. I spent too much time by the coffee machine. And so I think that's what really pushes me to have a hell of a entrepreneurial spirit, you know, and to say I'm going to do something and do it, not just talk a talk, but walk it too, you know. Everything from writing books to getting on stages to I love being on stage. The first time I was on stage, I was like, I almost had a panic attack, right? You know, and you know what that's like. You talk in front of 100 people, and you know, and you're hoping that you make an impact of one person's life. And then, you know, when you're done, you did a good job, and you're like, oh shit, I could do this again. And I could keep changing lives and keep changing lives and keep changing lives and doing better for people, you know, because not everybody has the experience I had. Not everybody who's walking that mall joined the Marine Corps and changed their whole life, right? Some folks are looking for a different direction. Some folks never went to the military, or some folks went to the military and absolutely hated it, man. You know what I'm saying? So there's so many different things that are, you know, there's so many different ways that life can go. But if I can get on the stage and impact somebody, or I can do, you know, I do my Wednesday webinars every Wednesday at 10 a.m. You know, if I impact somebody's business, fantastic, man. And I always tell people, I'll tell you everything that I do. And if you do it and you do better than me, all I'm asking is for a reach around. Just, what did you do different so I could take mine to the next level, right? But, you know, people used to clown at me. They would say, hey, David, why do you always tell everybody everything you do? Every program you use, your timelines, how much time you spend on things, like why? And I said, because 97.8% of people will not do anything that I just told them. They were just interested to hear it, and they walked away motivated. They walked away excited, and then they got back to their normal life and kept doing what the hell they were doing anyway. So it's not going to make a difference. And for those that it does make a difference, fantastic. And if you do it better than me, yo, call me up and say, hey, Dave, I found a better way.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do next? we started.
So I'm writing my third book. I'm really excited about my third book. I'm spending a little bit more time on this, and I've hired a professional ghostwriter to help me with it, and publishing company. And the reason for that is because I want this one to really make a mark. Because the last couple of books have really been like, I don't know, you call them self-help books if you want, right, for the business. But this book, I really wanted to change a mindset. I wanted to change a people for a say, and I wanted to honestly, I wanted to be in every store. I wanted to be all over the place. I want a New York Times bestseller. Like that would be a dream for me to be able to put New York Times bestselling author under my name. Holy shit, Ted!
There's a dream. I like that. I like that.
That's a dream for me, and I'm hoping to do this book. And this book is strictly about. You've heard me say a lot of things like hiccup and change and everything. But one word you'll never hear me say is fail. I don't believe in failure. I believe failure is a choice, and I don't believe that people should use the word failure. I think the more you say something, the more it gets embedded in your brain. And the entire concept of failing forward, I think, is the biggest crock pot of shit that anybody's ever sold us. And because there's no failure. Look up failure in the dictionary. Look up the word fail. It literally means complete annihilation. Like just, I've crawled in a corner and I died. And I completely quit on everything, life, everything. Listen, you might own a gardening company, and that gardening company may not work out, and you might have a hiccup that puts that gardening company out of business. But if that gardening company and the experience you got from it leads to you opening a computer shop, and you apply some of those things that you learned from the hiccups and your computer shop become successful, did you really fail? And that's always a question. So and so for all the big names out there, the Tony Robbins and the Grant Cardones and the Gary Vaynerchuks, and you have to fail. You have to fail. No, the fuck you don't. You don't have to fail. Am I allowed to curse on this show, Ted?
It's your show, brother. You can do whatever you want.
I'm sorry, man.
No, you not don't. At all. You're not the first one.
You don't have to fail. And furthermore, everything you want to do, unless you're like Steve Jobs inventing the phone, right? Like the smartphone. Everything you want to do, chances are it's been done already. Just Google it, man. Google it. Somebody already did it right. Do what they did, and then add your flavor to it. Put your salt and pepper on it. But there's no reason to fail anymore. Failure's a choice.
Failure's a choice. I like that. We're gonna hashtag that one. That should be a book title.
That should be.
Or a chapter at least.
Holy crap. Babe, you're listening, write that down.
I ask everybody on the show, every guest, because people will watch you and go, wow, that was motivating, inspiring. You got people to think. And people don't realize that it's so complex what you do. You have a lot of moving parts. And so during all of this crazy time, what are you doing self-care wise? What are you doing to keep your creativity, to keep the positivity, to keep ahead of the curve?
I keep my brain working. I think, there's a lot of people who have hobbies. My work is my hobby. It really is. I don't want to sound cliche, but it really is. Like I don't have a hobby. Like like if I'm going to say I have a hobby, I'm going to say it's riding my Harley, right? But that's not really a hobby. That's just a pleasureful moment for me to get out on my bike and go enjoy some fresh air, right? So it's not really a hobby for me. But we wake up early, we work out almost daily. I think that's really big. I believe you keep your body right, keep your mind right. I don't allow me being home with my mother, my mother-in-law, 2 children, and my wife affect me. I feel like it's a blessing. We've got a ton of help, and there's always food on the table. And when you have those kinds of things, I think my wife and I have spent significant time strengthening our relationship by doing things we enjoy and having extra levels of communication. And I do my work. I enjoy coaching. Somebody says, like, if Ted calls me and says, hey, I want to do a show with you, I'm in, right? I'm still doing my stuff. You know, tomorrow I've got 3 more webinars this week. I'm still coaching my agents. I still talk to my team every morning. You know, we're still lead generating. We're coming up with creative ideas on how to continue the business throughout this situation that we're all in. Because I'm a firm believer that if you continue to keep your face in front of people, you will surpass this and you will dominate it. And because a lot of people are going to go out of business very soon. A lot of people. There will be a lot of real estate agents that told you they were top producers, a lot of mortgage lenders that told you they were superstar lenders that are going to be serving you a burger at TGI Fridays in a couple months. And it's no offense to them, okay? The difference between them and you receiving the burger and still in the business was that you kept your face in front of people. You built massive relationships during this downtime, and you were able to come out of this with a stronger business. I think that that's the great stuff, you know. But for me, keeping my mind right, like keeping my brain working, that's what really helps me get through all this.
You know what I loved about this interview, I have to tell you, and we're out of time, but I could listen to you for a long time. But here's what I love. I can always tell when it's a great conversation when I'm not the focus. So it was great to hear you really share all of the things that you have going on, or at least we get to see a little bit of the inside of what's going on in your brain, because you have so many great nuggets to share, and you have been through it. You have been in the military. You have expressed how it changed your life. You have built your own team and then did everything and moved it. I mean, there's just so much to what you've done. In addition to being an author and a speaker, I want to thank you so much. I think that was, you have lots of love and comments, which you can probably see on the one page, but I've got it across the board on all my pages. But I can't thank you enough, buddy. I really appreciate it. I think what you shared was amazing. And if people want to reach out to you, davidadamkurz.com. Of course, I tagged you on Facebook. You can reach out to him there. Awesome. Obviously, you're an open book. You can't fake that kind of stuff, but I appreciate everything that you shared today.
I appreciate it, guys. Check it out, davidadamkurz.com. Go to my YouTube because everything I do ends up there. So if I'm creating a video or giving a little nugget or whatever the case is, ends up there. We've got over 400 videos out there. So
what's the YouTube?
They just got to go on YouTube and search David Kurz. I'll pop up.
Perfect.
Yeah, all right. I'll pop up.
All right, man. Thank you so much. Give your wife a hug.
It was an honor. It was an honor. I really appreciate it.
Honor's mine, my friend.
Thanks so much. All right, brother.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Reach out to him. Support local, and you're going to learn from him. If you didn't already learn in this 30 minutes, reach out. There's much more to it. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, man.